Hey everyone, welcome back to Apollo Art Analysis. This episode to be studying a piece by the established AI generative artists in surea.i labs, and in this episode we're going to be talking about the impact of visual energy, and we're also going to talk about the intersection of fantasy and science fiction. So let's jump right into it. So whenever you first see this work, we're definitely struck instantly by this major eclipse. It takes up kind of the central region of the composition. You'll notice how this vivid and highly energetic light impacts almost every element in the piece before us here. What you may also notice is the layout of this composition. We see really this eclipse follows all the way to here, follows to here. There is a kind of triangular order to the composition, if you will. When we see a triangular order, it almost always gives us a sense of balance and a sense of harmony. So quite ordered and balanced in the work before us here. What's so interesting is you may also notice the impact of texture. We see this primarily in the lower left region, kind of this rough and roiling texture over here. But we do see elements of that as well, kind of a shimmering texture, and of course the kind of gradient that passes off from one to another. All of these, of course, do an amazing job at really immersing us within the scene at hand. So absolutely stunning. We'd love to see that. What you may also notice is the impact of light within the composition. So like we said, the texture, gives us a bit of visual energy here, but light really is the most dominant source of visual energy in this composition. We see this, of course, primarily coming from this large eclipse. Like I said, this vivid light strikes almost every element in the composition here. This gives us this intense energy, just incites and possesses the piece before us here, and may, awaken the viewer in some ways as well. Even though this is kind of a darker piece, these elements, this green and yellow goldish light, is going to really strike us instantly and gives us that sense of visual energy. So quite interesting here. So what we see, of course, some of the most dominant elements are going to be these large pyramids, right? They strike us instantly, especially this large one. It goes all the way from the horizon to the very top of the composition there. So pyramids are quite interesting. They've really been around for at least 5,000 years as far as we know of. They really are ancient kind of Egyptian tomb structures that were seen in so many different ways, both symbolic and literal. For example, in the world of symbolism, you'll notice how there is a strong base that goes to the very point, kind of a rarity or a hierarchy, if you will, there. That's quite interesting. But it really is one of the most wondrous kind of ancient wonders of the world that we know of. We always go to visit those in Egypt and really marvel at how they were built, and we even debate on how they were built as well. So it's quite interesting, and of course, very impactful symbolism within the piece at hand. And so we talked a bit about that placement, right? Just like a pyramid, it is placed in kind of a triangular order that does give a sense of balance and a sense of harmony. The eye is drawn, of course, to this major eclipse in our first introduction. You're likely going to scan the piece back and forth as you study this work further. So I think that's quite interesting. I think that's incredibly important as well. Like we said, very harmonious composition before us here. So what's also interesting is the title of this work is Vexatations. It really comes from the root word vexed, and vexed is kind of irritability or annoyance or inconvenience in a way. So there's definitely a negative quality to the root word of the title of this work. So what's interesting here is we see this very dark composition here, a very kind of cosmic fantasy mix, but there is no doubt that it is a very dark composition, daunting, maybe even dangerous in a way as well. So when you see that, you're definitely going to feel that instantly. And of course, like the title says, the root word vexed implies that negative element as well. So like I said, the most dominant element is going to be this eclipse. It just draws our eye back time and time again. You have also the impact of these implied lines that just splay and go across the composition there. We look at ancient times, even archaic times, eclipses were really seen as omens in a way. So of course we know the ancient cycle of the sun and moon, that kind of cosmic dance or the cosmic order of the cosmos. It's so interesting, and ancient and early humans really saw that as kind of a divine or magical quality. We definitely see that within the work at hand here. So of course, when you see this, not only does it possess the composition with so much vivid energy, but it also brings us back to our roots in some of the most sacred scenes that we can imagine. So, you look at this and of course you see that brilliant light. Light is almost always associated with the divine in some way or another. So we see the impact and the interplay of the sun and moon. Really creates a long-lasting memory and an absolutely unforgettable piece as well. So when I was looking at this work, it really drew me because I see the mix of fantasy and science fiction quite clearly. We see this, of course, it seems like it's on another planet, but at the same time, we have that fantasy element of, say, the lab, or what appears to be almost like a palace in some ways. When I was talking to the original artist, the artist surea.i Labs was talking about this being a lab of some kind, of course, incorporating the name within that quite well. So incredibly interesting there. We see the mix of fantasy and science fiction quite clearly. Like I said, when I first saw this work, it actually reminded me of kind of retro sci-fi art that I keep seeing. This kind of texture that almost like comic quality, if you will, of the hand painted. So absolutely stunning here. And this was actually created in Midjourney. So this is an AI generative work. So Midjourney is an amazing program. I would really suggest it for anyone who wants to get into it. It is the perfect mix of power and accessibility. So power and potential for the user to really unlock. So absolutely stunning piece. I really hope y'all enjoyed today. With this in mind, what do y'all see when you view this piece? How do you feel when you first saw this work? Some interesting questions you may ask. Of course, we see this brilliant gradient. We see, of course, the timeless symbolism of not only the eclipse, but the pyramid as well. This incredible sense of texture, and of course, an incredible visual energy that permeates every pixel of this priceless piece. So really hope y'all enjoyed today. So if y'all did enjoy this piece, go check out the original artist, surea.i Labs, doing some amazing stuff in the world of AI generative art. It really has that dark and daunting aesthetic that I always love to study and look at. So like I said, really hope y'all enjoyed today. And if y'all did, go check out the original artist. My name is Apollo. This was Apollo Art Analysis, and I'll see y'all on the next episode. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like to support our work directly, please check out our Apollo community tokens. Apollo Art Exchange is an ecosystem of art appreciation which elevates artists each and every day. Thanks for listening.